Hello and welcome back. This is going to be another Divine Partnership Coaching video, and I wanted this to be a little bit of encouragement for those of you like me who have been on the journey with your twin for a long time. And I mean, that could be, I'm going to qualify anything over 6 years, but for some of us, I mean, it's been decades, or going on decades at least. And a lot of readers are channeling into the collectives of those who have just met their twins. And there's nothing wrong with that. But it can be a little bit off-putting when you're like, well, but everybody just met their twins, and am I just going through this? I feel like I've been with my twin. Now, I want to preface, it could very well that you've been with a karmic. I could find out that the person that I know is my twin flame has actually been my karmic. I believe every bit in my being that that's not true, but I like to acknowledge that it could be, because one of the lessons that Spirit has been showing me is the most fun and the most healthy is to embrace all outcomes. But one of the things I wanted to talk about is something that I meant to do in the last couple of videos I did about recognizing that you're irresistible. Didn't come up in that, and I thought I should do a video on its own right. I think that's why it didn't come out that way. And it's 1:33 on the clock, 7, victory, right? And it's that if you've been with your twin flame, like, look back at your relationship that you had with them. Look back at union. Now, if you look back and all you see is misery and woe, you might reconsider that maybe it was a karmic relationship. But if you can look back and see a whole rainbow of good and bad, then really take a look at that. Look at what you've survived with them already. Look at where you thrived with them. And I know in my own personal journey, like, one of the things that my twin, my DM, regularly said to me before we officially had union and when we were in union is that he loved the way that I loved him, and that there was nobody else who's ever loved him in that way. Even before I knew him that well, it was like, for him, it was like I'd always known him in a way that nobody else had known him. And similarly, although he's always been a little bit more immature than I am and afraid to really embrace his own reciprocation of feeling like he's known me forever, I could tell that he felt that way too. And I could, and for me, it is very similar. Nobody's ever loved me in the ways that he's loved me, including in some of the toxic ways, which is really kind of funny. When you get to a healed point and you can laugh at things and go, that's kind of funny. Even the irony of how scared he's been that I might someday, like, switch and become a really, like, toxic person like the others that he's been with, like, that's kind of adorable in my opinion. But what I realized, though, when I started to really heal my self-worth issues, was that there's no competition. It isn't a competition, but there's no competition because we're divinely aligned. And I've always been very intuitive with him and just followed my heart. I wasn't doing it for motivation of give me your money or let me trap you in the relationship or because he was good looking or any of that stuff. I did it because it felt inspiring. It felt good. I loved to romance him. I loved to do all the little things. I loved to connect with his family. I loved to connect him with my family. And yeah, I've had my shadowy moments. Anybody who knows me will say, she ain't perfect. I don't claim to be perfect. I do, however, know that I'm very good at recognizing patterns and reality. And I've seen enough counselors and therapists that all laugh and go, no, you're charmingly sane, to know that I'm not making it up. And I've healed enough of my self-worth to be comfortable with owning my light and my dark. And I recognize that there's no comparison. And if you've been with your twin for a while and you can look at your journey and recognize that they've told you that nobody's loved them like you've loved them, and look at the things that you've done for them, like, were you romancing them? Were you making sure that when you made decisions that it included them? Were you even if you were codependent and in caretaker mode, even in your own toxicity, were you striving to do the right thing? Were you thinking about their feelings in it? Were you looking for ways to make sure that you, as best as you could, didn't hurt them in the ways that others hurt them? Were you able to call them out on their BS? Or did you just let them go on about it? Because that's also a good thing, because a lot of times when we're in toxic energy, we don't do that, or we overdo that. And just look at it. Look at the reality of it.